Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Interview with the Vampire Season 2, Episode 6. We are running very low on episodes, but we very close to the season finale. This episode, titled Like the Light by Which God Made the World Before He Made Light. This show stars Jacob Anderson as Louis, Sam Reed as Lestat, Eric Bogosian as Daniel Malloy, the interviewer, Delaney Hales as Claudia, Assad Saman as Armand. This was a very interesting episode. There's a lot of stuff that really move the story forward. I think the past couple of episodes we have been staying very close into the interview and digging into some of the manipulations that Armand seems to have been a part of in the memories and in everything that we are relating into this interview. But we go back to the past. We have a lot of stuff. Really, I think a lot of stuff that people have been waiting for is finally going to happen. We only have a couple of episodes left in the season, and I think it's going to get very intense, right? So we're going to get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go back and check it out. All right, we begin with Daniel once again at the restaurant with Rashid this time. And then the guy from the Talamasca shows up again. They keep having conversations. I think that the Talamasca wants to get as much information as they can from this interview. So they're trying to use Daniel this way by convincing him that he's the only way that he can get through this whole experience alive will be to get their help. So we also find out that Rashid is an agent, which is very interesting. I really like all these reveals of these kind of like background or minor characters. In the meanwhile, we go back to Paris, where they seem to be rehearsing a new play after they moved on from Claudia's play in the earlier episodes. We do see that while this is going on, Santiago and the rest of the coven continue to scheme because they're trying to get a few things. They're trying to get more information. They confirm that Lestat, or they're trying to confirm that Lestat was killed by Claudia and Louis, because obviously this has all been a lie that's perpetrated by them. So they have all the proof they need, and they're finally going to start making their move. Meanwhile, we go to Madeline's shop. She's the dressmaker who is always being harassed by the people around in the town. And this time, she's actually attacked. She's going to be attacked. I mean, things were about to get very extreme, but Claudia comes to help in a very gnarly sequence of events where there are two guys and a girl that Claudia takes out completely, and this is where Madeline finds out that she is a vampire. But I think she takes it very well. There's obviously a friendship, a kinship, and even more of a relationship there than was hinted at before. And Madeline, I think, finally kind of begins to. It's now out in the open. Now that all their secrets are out in the open. But I think it's a very intense scene. I think the actress who plays Madeline plays this very well because it's a whole shock, right? But at this point in her life, she really doesn't have much other than her shop. So would probably not want to lose Claudia. Also, Louis very quickly discovers the truth about Madeline and Claudia, and they come up with a plan to ask Armand to turn Madeline into a vampire so that Claudia may have a companion. I think the argument that Louis makes is that once Claudia has a companion, they can leave, and then they would that would be a relief for really both of them, and also for Louis, who won't be as distracted with Claudia and everything that's going on. So they're trying to really appeal to Armand's sense of like, this is going to be beneficial for you in the long run. But Armand refuses. They have a really cool scene of Armand and just Madeline talking about it, but he decides not to turn her. In the end, Armand actually, it's revealed that he's never made a vampire, that he finds the act of making a vampire not something that he wants to do. I don't know if he uses the word repulsive, but it was something like that. It was something to that effect. which is very interesting for the leader of a coven, a vampire that's over 500 years. And Daniel actually brings this up while they're kind of talking about that. But either way, Santiago and the coven continue to move forward with their plans. We get some hints as to some activity or some crimes that may have been related to the coven that will come back at the later on in the episode. So a really fun way to kind of plant those little seedlings. Like, why would you bring this up, right? But then it is actually important to the story. So Louis decides to turn Madeleine, and it's a very well done scene. It's really interesting, very extreme process of turning someone into a vampire. They have, as Louis is draining the blood from Madeleine, he receives a lot of memories and these feelings, and then even Claudia joins into draining her blood. So the process goes through very well. So Madeleine is now a vampire. Armand decides to break with the coven, or so we think, and they kind of move forward from that. So we're led to believe that Claudia and Madeleine just kind of left off, and it's been a little bit of time, but they choose to have one last dinner, all four of them, now that Armand is with Louis and Claudia is with Madeleine. Like, they have one last dinner, and this is where the coven makes their move. But I think everything was part of the bigger plan, part of the bigger picture. So we see Santiago coming into the restaurant where they were having dinner. Armand has stepped away to probably have a smoke or something. He was at the door, and he freezes everyone. And the vampires, the rest of the coven, comes in to kidnap Claudia, Madeleine, and Louis. They take him back to the theater for a special presentation of the trial of the vampires. And in this, we see that this is the first time they do something like during the day. And earlier in one of the news clippings, we saw that one of the things that they did was they stole this special lens from some kind of, I don't know, like a factory or a museum. I don't remember exactly what it was, but and in the theater we see that in the daylight, Santiago is standing in broad daylight. So it's not a spotlight from the theater, it's a daylight. So that's where I was like, oh, they stole that lens that would probably filter out whatever kills vampires, maybe the UV rays, so that Santiago couldn't be in the sunlight, which is really interesting because obviously that's kind of like proof that he's not a vampire for the people in the crowd. And yeah, we see that the trial's about to begin for Claudia, Madeleine, and Louis. They all three of them have been severely beaten. And as Santiago commences, they call in the special guest, and that's right, Lestat is back. The real Lestat, not the one we've been seeing in Louis' mind. And that's kind of where things end for this episode. Really interesting stuff. Really cool. My mouth was agape when we finished, and I watched the inside of the episode, and man, oh man, those are really interesting to watch. I highly recommend it, especially if you're watching on AMC Plus. I don't think you can watch them on the regular cable feed, but man, they're so good, really interesting. So I highly recommend you check those out. They give you a lot of insight. You get to see a lot of the actors kind of talking about stuff. And I think, yeah, I don't know what to expect now that Lestat's gonna be back. So very interesting stuff. I love this show. It is so interesting and really well done. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see. They do go into detail as to the preparing the set for the cafe for that dinner scene where the ambush happens, and they just so much work. You can definitely tell that there's quality there. The pricing of the background actors for having to hold still while they were shooting all those things. Yeah, this show, quality stuff. So highly recommend you check this out if you haven't already. As always, let me know if you watched this episode. What did you think? And please stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.